Namaste, Swamiji. The again, me being from Tamil Nadu and you also being from Tamil Nadu, you had multiple, interactions with different people. But what we would like to know is your interactions with Jayalalitha. I mean, how it had started, spanned over the years. It would be very interesting for us to know about that.
Yeah, it's my relations with Jayalalitha was both intellectually stimulating, a bit of a joke at one stage, and then later on, a bit of a tragedy. All things combined, like a good Tamil cinema, it had all the elements in it. I first met Jayalalitha when she came to Rajya Sabha in 1982. I got an invitation to attend a tea party in which select MPs were invited. And I was there. There was not much. They just got introduced. That's about all. Then the next time I met her was, I think, in 87. I think MGR was not well. He was, I think, is in hospital in New York. And we were to travel by the same plane to Chennai, and the delays were very normal. Those days we had only one airline, that was the Indian Airlines. And so in the reserved lounge, the two of us were there together. And so we talked for almost 4 hours on practically everything we could think of. She was a delightful conversant. I mean, she was in conversation, she was tremendously witty, knowledgeable, read many books. I mean, she was a real intellectual. And so we exchanged ideas on many, many things. And then I told her that, next time you're in Delhi, let me know, we can meet, otherwise I'll come to Madras and meet you. She said, no, don't come to meet me in Madras. So that is the first time I got an impression how Tamil politicians are. I said, why not? So she said, very frankly, she said, I can't say it, but fortunately nobody's around here. I'll tell you that MGR would be very, very, very upset if you came to meet me. I said, I'm a politician. I'm meeting another politician. How can you object? Maybe you can invite him also. She said, that'll make it even worse that I suggested this. So don't make me. So MGR, that I subsequently came to know, cinema had psychologically dented Jayalalitha to such a point that she had become thoroughly warped in her outlook, suspicious of everybody. At the moment's notice, she would turn a friend into an enemy and enemy into a friend. She was very erratic. And when I explored further, I found that she was an extremely bright student in school. She came top of the class. She went to college, but by then her mother, who was a B-grade film actress, and she was in utter poverty because she had become sufficiently old for not being called to films. So for money's sake, she forced her daughter, who was those days considered a very good-looking girl, and obviously for a role. Once Hema Malini told me both she and Jayalalitha went for audition, and she was not. Hema Malini was not selected, and Jayalalitha was selected. But I said, but in the end, it turned out he became an all India star, and she was only a Tamil star. But anyway, she was. She was quite a rave for the cinema world, and she performed in many, many roles. But cinema culture outside the screen is a terrible culture, especially for women. And she was brutalized because she was a Brahmin girl, and the cinema world was dominated by Dravidian parties, and they were real nasty with her. I don't need to go into details on that, but the fact is that her warped outlook about men and generally about anybody was because of the cinema. And she became very good friends with me because she was at the time I had become a minister. She had become totally isolated by Karunanidhi. Karunanidhi had come back to power, and at one stage one truck almost overran overran her car, and she was injured. Then she went in incognito. She then disappeared to Hyderabad. So by 1990, after I became minister, I began to decide. I came to the conclusion that the DMK government was anti-national. They were feeding all central information about the national security, which we were sending as to chief ministers and to Karunanidhi also. He was passing it on to the LTT, and so our government gave a warning, and then we came to the conclusion that this man is not going to change, because he had not only helped the LTT, but LTT injured by IPKF, which is our army. They used to come to Chennai and go to government hospitals and get treatment. I mean, that was too much. And so we decided that we must do something. I suggested that in those days, this cabinet subcommittee for political affairs was only 3 people. One was the Prime Minister, Chandrasekhar, the Deputy Prime Minister, Devilal, and myself, because I was the senior most minister. And only 3 people, the rest were all the IB chiefs, RAW chiefs, military chiefs, that kind of thing. It used to take decisions only on national security matters. And in that meeting, I said that you must dismiss the government. And we, naturally, there was a lot of fear, what would be the consequences. Then I took the responsibility that I'll go and sit in Madras and execute the dismissal. And we dismissed it and went off very beautifully. And not a single cycle was burned, leave alone a bus being burnt. And we then started preparing for holding elections. In the meantime, Rajiv Gandhi asked me, in the elections we are going to win, tell me who should be chief minister. And I said, you've given up on Mukunal? He said, of course, he's useless. So I said, then what about Jayalalitha? He said, oh my God, she's very hard to talk to. You talk to her, I don't mind. So I decided to find out, and ultimately located her, and she located Jagdish Shetty, who was that time in my office. And I think she was telephoning him regularly, urging me, when I'm going to dismiss the government, when I'm going to dismiss the government. But I had already dismissed it, and she didn't know. But anyway, I told her to return, and I said, you'll get full security, so give her black security. So the short end of it is that the elections were held. Out of 234 seats, we won 232. Of course, Janata Party was, as usual, in Tamil Nadu was a pathetic situation. So we didn't get any seats for Janata Party, but I think we got 2 seats, if I'm not wrong. But she formed a government with a huge majority, and then the problems began to come, because she was doing things which were not good, and there were corrupt actions that were taking place. And one was a privatization of something called SPIC, which is a petroleum thing, which was originally owned by Chidambaram's relative called, forget his name, and he was a great financier of Jayalalitha, so she wanted to denationalize it and give it to him at a very low price. So at that time, the equivalent of finance secretary was Chandralekha. And Chandralekha had a MA degree in economics from Presidency College. And so she put up on file an opposition. Now, Chandralekha was a great favorite officer of MGR. He promoted her, made her a collector and all that. So there was some problem between Jayalalitha and Chandralekha, because she was, Jayalalitha probably thought that MGR would promote her in politics and not Jayalalitha. So anyway, that tension was there, and because of this note, it led to, and I can't say who was behind it. Obviously, the government had supported it. She was, acid was thrown on Chandralekha's face, And that created a problem. Dr. P.C. Reddy of Apollo called me and showed me what had happened. And I was shocked. So I called her up, and she was mad that I called her up and asked her, so why you want to get into these matters? I said, the IAS officer has been, as I said, thrown on your government, and you have not taken any action. You haven't even gone to the hospital to see her. She's your officer. I didn't know Chandrika at that time. So that led to a lot of bad blood. And then there were many ministers. She started dropping left, right, and center. They all came to me. So I created a Nallachi Ekam. That means a movement for good governance. And that drew huge crowds. And so she began using the state apparatus to harass me and even have me killed, which is recorded in one of the DGP's memoirs, how she and the DK Veeramani tried to get me arrested under TADA, put me in jail and kill me inside the jail. So, and that he protested and he opposed, and then Jayalalitha backed off. So that kind of thing. So naturally, I was wanting to retaliate. Now, of course, Karunanidhi and all had gone and hidden in their houses. They didn't have the nerve to fight her. So I had to do it alone. And since I brought her into power, I thought it was my responsibility to fight her. So I began collecting data on corruption, started filing cases. And then when the elections took place, she was badly defeated. And I stood without any organization. I came second. ADMK lost his deposit. Karunanidhi did, as usual, his cheating. And by a narrow margin, he won that seat. So he came to power. And then she came to my house. And she was literally on tears. She said, I was inexperienced and, you shouldn't have been so harsh with me, blah, blah. But now you and I should fight together against Karunanidhi. So I said, I'd be happy to fight Karunanidhi, but I can't do it with you because I have filed cases against you. I will not withdraw those. I can't go to court and say that I was wrong in filing the cases and I want it withdrawn. So she said, I don't mind that. I must say to her credit, she never raised the question of my cases against her. And I also pursued the cases, but she and I together took on Karunanidhi, and Karunanidhi was in tatters. Then Inder Gujarat's government had fallen and new elections were held, and she asked me that only you can win Madurai, can you stand there? I said, of course I will stand there. And I won by a very large majority. And it was the first time, in fact, that Veeramani took out what is called as a funeral procession, saying that Brahmin has been elected in the Adda, or the stronghold of the Dravidian movement. And naturally, the two of us became very well known in Tamil Nadu and all over India. And Vajpayee wanted our support. And that support, she made a condition that Swamy will be finance minister. Vajpayee agreed. And after taking oath, he went back on it. So I didn't mind. I said, I know Vajpayee all along. He's want to do that. That also I knew. Don't worry. At least you got government. You got 5 ministers. And let's work on it. No. You have to bring down this government. So for 1 year, she kept pressurizing me to bring down the government. And finally, I said, okay, you and Sonia Gandhi have to come together. Otherwise, we'll bring down a government and not be able to form an alternative. We'll be cursed by everybody. But she agreed, but after bringing down the government, Sonia Gandhi betrayed us because Vajpayee offered her a deal on Quattrochi. So she dumped her. So we couldn't form an alternative government. Elections were declared. Kargil came in the way. We won Kargil. And there was a new halo over Vajpayee, and they won the elections. We were all defeated. And so she and I broke off again. Then something I've never told anybody, I started going to Harvard every year to teach. So one day she called me at Harvard in 2007, early, the summer of to 2007. And she asked me that, she said, I have cleared it with the opposition. Will you stand as President of India? So I was taken aback. You see, I said, it's a vote from the blue. But what about the vote? She said the BJP is not putting up a candidate. They are thinking of joining with the rest of the opposition. I said, if my name comes, he will run away. But I knew that I can't trust this lady. If she can dump me earlier, she can dump me again. So I told her, no, I've signed a contract with Harvard. I can't break a contract like that. And I'll come and see you when I return. And that was the end. After that, used to frequently meet, and the turning point came when she got the Shankaracharya, Kanchi Shankaracharya arrested. And I was really mad. And that time, anyone who spoke against the arrest, she was putting them in jail. Everybody had their tails tucked between their legs, and nobody was speaking. So then I thought, out of regard for the Kanchi Mutt, I must speak. And then I started attacking her, and big crowds started coming. So she called me, and she told me something which was shocking. She said, I took this step because Guru Murthy gave me a tape of what Shankaracharya was up to in the ashram, and I felt ashamed. And that's why I took this step. But actually, she was pressurized by Sonia Gandhi, and she didn't want to say that to me. And she came to a grief and ultimately, the last meeting I had with her, she told me that, see what has happened to me because of what I did with the Kanchi Mutt. The policeman I sold, whom I told him to take the case specially, he's gone blind, his legs have been cut because of gangrene, and he's been dismissed for indiscipline from the police. And for me, I lost the elections, so have I not suffered enough? But then it was pointless. After that, I got into this Hindutva movement because of what I did in the Shankaracharya case and the Ram Setu case. And we barely knew each other, but I must say that of all the politicians I know, she was the most well-read politician in terms of books. She would ask me every time I came, give her books, bring this book, bring that book. I don't know why she could bring it herself, but somehow she wanted to make me work. I would say my last years with her, they were very good relations, but she's a very hard person to get along with because of all the neurosis that has been fed into her brain. I'm sorry that she went at an early age. And many of the people couldn't understand how I can send her to jail at the same time be friends with her. I said that was a contract I had with her, and she kept that contract and never held it against me. So she was a unique personality and worth knowing, and that's what I think of Jayalalitha.